Hormuz dominates U.S.-Iran talks as negotiators confront the crisis hanging over global energy markets. Vance hits the ground in Switzerland. A major American delegation converges for high-stakes diplomacy. Diplomacy enters crunch mode as regional tensions threaten to derail a fragile path forward. Pakistan joins the diplomatic push as mediators work urgently to bridge gaps between both sides. Shehbaz, Sharif and Asim Munir arrive as Islamabad deepens its involvement in the search for a breakthrough. Tehran's delegation enters Burgenstock, carrying significant leverage into the most critical talks yet. Motorcades roll into Burgenstock as the stakes rise for diplomacy across the Middle East. This as Iran hits back at Washington's proposals with fresh demands and added pressure.
Looking forward to starting the technical talks with the Iranians, the Pakistanis, and the Qataris. Our understanding is that the Iranians just landed, the Qataris and Pakistanis, and some of our technical negotiators still on the ground. So look, we'll have a couple days of talks. We're going to get this thing kicked off in the right way. There's a lot to discuss, but we're going to go through it all. Well, Marco and the entire team have been actively managing what's going on in Lebanon, despite the headlines. Things are actually getting better there. Things have calmed down a little bit. It's going to be something we're just going to have to continuously manage to ensure that Israel and Lebanon are both safe and secure. That's fundamentally the goal of this, to make the whole region safe and secure. The big problem is that you have somebody will shoot and then somebody will respond, and you kind of have a chicken and egg problem where you just got to stop the siege for long enough to get the ceasefire to hold. That's what we're going to try to do. We'll keep on working at it, but things have gotten better. Well, I think number one, just getting things set up in the right way and getting the actual structure of the negotiation in place. So the way that we're going to do this is that we're going to have a principal level political leadership at the top, and then obviously the technical team is going to stay on the ground. As much as I might like to stay in what appears to be a beautiful place, I can only be there for a day or two. I think we're going to hopefully make progress on the nuclear issue, make progress on the Lebanon ceasefire issue. Those are the two big things that I think we're going to be focused on. I'm sure the Iranians are going to have issues they'd like to discuss as well. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you.
Iran plays hardball, sends top team to Switzerland while signaling major obstacles still remain. Iran's two-pronged message to Trump: leverage remains intact and confidence is still in short supply.
As you noted, this visit was originally scheduled for Friday to formalize the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. However, since the agreement was signed digitally by the two presidents, the meeting no longer held the same urgency. This visit is, in effect, dedicated to monitoring the implementation of the counterparty's obligations. Every understanding, and indeed every agreement, is ultimately tested at the implementation stage. Given our past experience with the other side's breaches, we must naturally remain extremely firm and resolute in our demands throughout this phase. Article 13 of the Memorandum of Understanding is explicit. Negotiations toward a final agreement are contingent upon the commencement and sustained implementation of commitments under Articles 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11. Regrettably, that condition has not yet been met. Consequently, during this visit and the accompanying negotiations, our primary objective is to demand the full execution of the other parties' undertakings and to seek clear clarification on exactly how they intend to meet those obligations. The commitments are unambiguous. Clause 1 constitutes the cornerstone of the mutual obligations, specifically an end to hostilities on all fronts, including in Lebanon. For our part, we have fully upheld our obligations. However, the other party was required to compel its allies, notably the Zionist regime, to cease fire in Lebanon. In this regard, they have clearly failed to meet their duties, constituting a flagrant violation of the ceasefire terms. As for the lifting of the naval blockade and, correspondingly, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, those commitments have indeed been fulfilled. A memorandum of understanding is a cohesive package. It is not a collection of isolated provisions. If any one element or commitment remains unimplemented, the entire agreement is compromised. This is all the more significant given that Clause 1 is the most critical pillar of the entire arrangement. In light of this, the other side must take the necessary corrective measures without delay. Otherwise, the integrity of the entire understanding will be placed at serious risk. We did not enter into this commitment for it to remain unfulfilled. This agreement was reached after weeks of intense negotiations, facilitated by mediators, built on Iran's good faith, and, most importantly, underpinned by our national strength and unity. Naturally, we will spare no effort to ensure its full implementation. However, as we have consistently stated, this is a commitment in exchange for a commitment. Should the other side refuse to uphold its end, the Islamic Republic of Iran will not hesitate to take corresponding reciprocal measures.
Remember, Vance issued blunt remarks aimed at voices challenging Washington's Iran strategy. Think twice. Vance warned Israeli critics against actions that could undermine U.S. interests abroad.
I want to talk back to the Lebanon component of the deal. There's a report in Axios that Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you've seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.